Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello.
Hi, Lauren. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay today. Instagram, you'll find us there. Search Wilder Show Pod and like and all that. If you want to send us email here, you send it to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, and sometimes on the TikTok. So wherever you get your podcasts, why don't you engage us there on that platform? That's a good way to do it if you want to. You still send us emails separately, but it helps with the algorithm. In fact, one of our folks is really serious about helping us with the algorithm. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So wherever you get your podcasts, would you like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share? The folks who find us on YouTube, that number is growing. And I think in part because of great comments that are made on YouTube. Several folks that have joined us in the comments, and I like it. Michael writes, in all caps, for the algorithm, ... While I can't speak for what alternative universes have, after 20 years of listening to him on the radio and podcast, I'm convinced we have the Bizarro World Scott. I don't think that's complimentary, but that's okay. John wrote, decided to try the YouTube instead of Apple Podcasts, but there is no video. And so I wrote back and I said, that is correct. We're just audio.
We don't provide video.
For now.
For now.
And another one from Michael for the algorithm. In your next podcast episode, Lauren will tell us about research into the value people place on peace of mind after 47 years of threats. I think that's the biggest benefit as a nation we get out of our military operations in Iran. So that's fine.
Yeah.
So people commenting on that. And then one more, Scott, not me, wrote, non-dilemma settled. I'm taking Calvin and Hobbes with me. So that's from a previous episode, 142, as I recall. And let me just quickly say, hello, Japan and Vietnam and Spain. España is, I think, number 4 or 5 now in ranking. Number 1 is the United States. I'm going to say it again. We're number 1. But Japan is number 2. So if you're listening in Japan, would you just shoot us a note? I'd love to know how you found us. Did you take us with you?
What are you doing there?
Have we infiltrated? Did you smuggle Wilder Show podcast into Japan? Also Vietnam. Vietnam is number 3. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, I'd love to know if wherever you're listening from, even your state, if it's a different state from Texas or even in Texas, tell us where you're listening from. But I'm particularly interested in who is listening in Japan because they shot up to position number 2 very quickly. Used to be way down. Now, out of the 64 countries that we have infected, maybe not infected.
Maybe that's not the right word.
Anyway, where we can be heard.
Maybe it is.
Where we are heard, Japan is now number 2. So if you're listening in Japan, Vietnam, Spain, España, or wherever, we'd love to hear exactly where you're listening from and, give us a little shout out.
Can I mention a funny story I heard that you reminded me of when you mentioned Calvin and Hobbes?
Yeah.
And I might be getting some of the details wrong, but the spirit of it is right. I heard an interview with David Spade about I guess he has a memoir out. I don't know. Maybe that's why he was being interviewed. Yeah. But he was talking about his time on Saturday Night Live and all of the very, cool experiences he had and the great people that he got to work with. And he was asked in the context of that time, he was asked about 2 tattoos that he has that I guess he got during that time. Okay. And one of them is of Calvin and Hobbes.
Is that right?
And it was given to him by Sean Penn.
You're saying Sean Penn actually gave him the tattoo?
He was the tattoo artist.
Oh, my.
Yes. And he was asked by Sean Penn if he wanted a tattoo. And David Spade said, really, I didn't, but I so wanted to be cool to Sean Penn. And I loved him so much and was such a fan of his that I said, sure.
Absolutely.
And he has no particular affinity for Calvin or Calvin and Hobbes, but that was like one of the only things that Sean Penn could do.
Oh, that's funny.
So he got a little tattoo of Calvin and Hobbes. On his wrist or something like that. And the artist, none other than Sean Penn.
Mm-hmm. The hantavirus, is that how you say it?
Hantavirus.
The hantavirus. I have some thoughts
Okay.
on the hantavirus. Yeah, several thoughts. We should do a whole segment called Conspiracy Corner. There's so many things out there that, not even necessarily to debunk them or to support them, just to
throw them out there.
Say, just be aware these things are happening. They may not be aliens, it may be demons. Or things like that. And certainly there are plenty on many of these things. Let's talk about the war first. Iran's counter-proposal to the United States, which we expected by the end of the day on Friday, and it did not come, or Saturday. And I think it came the end of the day Sunday. Here's what they said. Here's what we're willing to do. We're willing to do this. To end the war, we want recognition of our sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. And we demand compensation from the United States for the damage that has been done. And there is no mention of uranium, no nuclear, nothing. That is never going to work. That's what they call a maximalist. That's a maximalist demand. They've demanded something that there is no way the United States would say yes to.
Right?
And so the president said, I guess Sunday night, that's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
So he rejected it. But now what are we faced with? The president's going to China tomorrow. What are we faced with now? And we'll talk in a minute about China. China views the United States right now as a giant that limps. Those are their words. The United States is a giant that limps. We're damaged. Why are we damaged? This is why. This is why. So the president's going to China, and is there an end in sight? The pattern for the last 4 weeks has been, we give them a deadline, and then tell them if they don't do it, there's going to be a big glow in the sky. And that glow in the sky is, where you guys used to be. And then the deadline comes and goes, and nothing happens. So we set another deadline, then we set a ceasefire for a period of time, but it's only a period of time. It's going to be over quickly. We'll give you 24 more hours. We already gave the deadline you did. So 24 more hours, and then we have a never-ending ceasefire. And that's where we are today. One way to end it is for the president just to get out. Just get out. Get out and leave it. That would be failure, obviously. That's not going to happen. He's not going to do that. The other way is to give a parting shot, even by the time this drops, right before he goes to China. To walk into China as a tough guy and let it be worked out. By the time I get back, we have to have this, that, or the other. It would help him in the trip to China. It would help him seem tougher if they went back to. I just don't know what's going to happen. It's not good. Benjamin Netanyahu was on 60 Minutes, the new 60 Minutes, the new friendlier 60 Minutes that is run headed by Barry Weiss. Remember that whole thing that Barry Weiss was brought in, having never done television news anywhere ever. She's the one. And they bring her in. She's in charge. The people at 60 Minutes are going crazy. Some of them are leaving. Anderson Cooper said, no, I'm done. After 20 years of being on 60 Minutes as a contributor, he says, I'm done. He didn't make a big deal out of it, but most people know. And behind the scenes, it is clear he does not like the direction they're going in under her management. And other people have already made it clear that they're not happy with it either. Anyway, Netanyahu was on 60 Minutes on Sunday night. Interview with Major Garrett, who I like, where he used to be. Major Garrett, CNN, Fox?
I was going to say Fox.
I think it is Fox.
Yeah.
Major Garrett. Liked him, always liked him. He's on 60 Minutes. Anyway, maybe he's taking Anderson's place now. And Benjamin Netanyahu talked about the need to keep going. You got to get rid of this regime, get all that nuclear material, which, by the way, can only be gotten out of there manually. That's the only way you can get out of those mountains. Remember, we buried a bunch of that. How do you get it out of those mountains? It's not right at the edge of the country. It's deep inside the country. It's deep inside the ground. And the only way to get it out is to excavate it out. How do you do that? Unless you do it with boots on the ground, or if you have an agreement that together, Iran, under observation of international agencies and the United States and probably Israel, would then begin to extract all the uranium. But that's also not going to happen. And one side note, mark my words on this. Israel is going to go for Turkey after this is over. Just like America's gonna go after Cuba, we'll go after them in a different way. But Israel, after they get through with Hamas in Lebanon, after they've taken more land, they will go after Turkey. They seek to have much more of a footprint in the Middle East. I'm not judging. I'm just telling you it's going to happen. Israel has set their sights on Turkey. It's what they call the Israeli project. I'm not making it up. The Israeli project. And it is the taking over of the Middle East. Okay, the president's going to China. According to experts, China, as I said, currently views the United States as a giant that is limping. And it's going to be interesting to see how the China thing goes. I have been there several times to China. I have some idea of the culture. We've talked before about the fact that Americans who travel overseas, we don't really have a great reputation. A little bit louder than, wherever we are, a brash, not really interested. At least that's what people think, and actually what I've observed in sort of fitting in. We don't really fit in. We believe in being fitted around.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here now.
Yeah.
You're going to see pictures of, it's going to be a huge photo op. It's going to be all the places where I've been, not all, but many of the places where I've been in China. Of course, he's flying into Beijing, so you won't have Xi'an. You're not going to have the terracotta warriors. You're not going to have the things in Shanghai. You're not going to have the Bund. You're not going to have the financial stuff. You'll have the political stuff. Beijing is to China what D.C. is to America. It's the political hub. And when you're there, you're very close to the Great Wall of China. Of course, the Great Wall of China is very big, but you could go to the Badaling, which is where I think he will end up going. Big photo op there. Tiananmen Square, probably there. Forbidden City, probably there. Maybe Mao's tomb, been there, probably there. When you go to a foreign place, they have things that are true about that foreign place. It is up to you to bend around it. Donald Trump's demeanor, I will be watching because I hope I'm wrong. Just his nature is never to defer. That culture does not embrace brashness.
Mm-hmm.
They're very demure as a society. Out of all the people that I've ever met in any of the places I've ever been, I think the people that I've met that I like the most are the Chinese people. They are the most demure.
Yeah.
Maybe Thailand.
Is that why you feel that way about them?
Not that you could lord over them, but they're so respectful
Mm-hmm.
of each other. Now, part of that is, and the really bad news is, part of that is communism. You're in a horrible place, and they're sort of forced to not have freedom that we have here. You can't stand out, as we saw in Tiananmen Square. You can't stand out and let your voice be heard. So lots of ways where it's not good. But the demeanor of the people, even Chinese people that I've met that have come here to the United States, they're very different people. They are by nature, unless they become Americanized. They are by nature very respectful, very demure. Now I've seen it in Thailand too, in different places. Love the places I've been in Africa, but they're all different. Chinese people have a certain way. And if I could pick a people of the world that would be diametrically opposed to the demeanor of our president, it would be the Chinese people. As much as they are bluster and blow when it comes to weapons, they have the greatest parades. They parade their weaponry better than any country in the world, including Russia, which recently had another one of those military parades that did not go too well, was not as strong a showing as they've had in the past. China always has them, but as a people, they're not like that. They're very quiet. That can be misleading. The Atlantic. In the Atlantic, if you don't read the Atlantic every now and then. I'm going to borrow from this. Now that the United States is riven by internal politics, alienating allies, and once again consumed by a war in the Persian Gulf, this seems like an opportune moment for China to wrest the mantle of global leadership. Yet Beijing has avoided capitalizing on these conflicts with a strong public position. Instead of confronting the United States by defending Iran, a long-time strategic partner in the region, China has provided only indirect support and has largely stayed on the sidelines. Continuing, China's restraint should not be seen as a sign of weakness. Instead, the country is biding its time. Let me pause right there for a second. One of my trips to China, we were up in the mountains, and they don't waste anything in China. They don't waste any part of an animal that is killed for food. All the parts, you find a way. It ends up in a soup or ends up in a mush or ends up in something. They don't waste things. The bones, nothing. They waste nothing. They also waste nothing with land. If you're in a mountain, you say a mountain, how do you possibly farm on a mountain? How do you farm on a hill? You tier it. We talked about this before. I think you tier farm. So it's like stair steps. Think of it like stair steps up a pyramid. You're not going up a slant, which is what a mountain would be. You clear off part. You've got something here.
You got a little flat land to farm.
Up, yeah. And what they do, they tier it all. And I remember being there, and I was talking to one of the people that are from there. And so we saw these men who were clearing some of the land to tier farm. And there was one man out there with a hoe, like kunk, 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 scrape, kunk, kunk, kunk. And I remember commenting to one of our folks there. And I said, he could get that done a lot faster if he had some machinery.
Yeah.
And this guy looked at me and he said, that's not our way. He said, if you said that to him, he would say, what I can't finish, my son will finish. So they are very, very patient, to the point made in the Atlantic. Instead, the country, China, is biding its time, positioning itself as the ready choice to fill a leadership vacuum when the United States flames out.
Ooh.
China's leaders are working to shape a world in which their dominance emerges not as a climactic victory over Western interests, but as a fact on the ground. Like it's undeniable. We didn't take it. The other guys failed. Final bit from the Atlantic. In private conversations and public writings, China's leaders and their advisors often describe America as declining but dangerous. A late-stage power prone to bursts of aggression in the hopes of arresting its slide. As early as the 1990s, the height of the United States' unipolar power, Chinese thinkers were already theorizing about America's decline. Wang Huning, then a little-known academic, was moved by his travels through the U.S. to write the book America Against America, in which he described a nation beset by social fragmentation, inequality, political dysfunction, shocked by the country's problems of homelessness, drug addiction, racial violence, social divisions, and low education standards. Wang concluded that America contained the seeds of its own destruction.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it is instructive to know how the country of 1.4 billion people views our little 250-year-old place. Hantavirus, speaking of travels, I was in Kenya in 2003, and there's a place there called the Kibera Slums. The Kibera Slums, if you looked it up, Kibera, they call it a neighborhood. It's not really a neighborhood. It is the largest slum in Nairobi. It is the largest slum in all of Africa. 500,000 to 1 million people live in the Kibera Slums.
How big a land? How many?
4.1 miles.
Okay.
4.1 miles. In a 2009 survey conducted by French Institute for Research in Africa, it found that the average Kibera slum resident lives in extreme poverty, earning less than $2 U.S. a day. Unemployment rates are quite high. Cases of assault and sexual assault are common. Very few schools. Most people can't afford education anyway for their children. Clean water is scarce. Diseases caused by poor hygiene are prevalent. Majority of the people living in the slum lack access to basic everything. Anyway, I bring it up because when I hear about the hantavirus and how it's carried, it's carried by rodents.
Yeah.
Rodents' feces or urine in the air. Remember that Gene Hackman's wife died of it.
Yeah.
And then he died from not being able to be cared for. Anyway, it happens here in the United States, but I think about the places we walked in the Kibera slums. I think about, and I mean, we're talking about open sewers in a little ditch. I don't mean a deep ditch. I mean, kids were playing out, walking through barefoot, this river of you know what, going right down the middle of their little street. And I wonder how in the world we go into people's huts,
Mhm.
actually lean to. It wasn't even like a hut. When you think of Africa and you think of the huts and the thatch roof and the mud sides and it's in a circle and smoke's coming out of the top, that is true in some places, but not here. This is just stuff leaning up against other stuff that people are sleeping under. And so we go into this person's lean-to, and we're in there for 8 hours, breathing stuff,
Mhm.
talking to them.
Mhm.
Didn't even think about it. But now you look back and you think, man, what the heck?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? We didn't get sick. And just one other thing before scattershoot about the hantavirus. I was looking back at the dates of some of the things that we've been nervous about. Been nervous about things over the years. SARS, remember SARS? SARS was a big deal.
Sure.
It's SARS, it's swine flu. You know, things that made us all go, ooh, we got to shut down or whatever.
What about Ebola?
Ebola was one. And then, of course, COVID-19
yeah.
was the successful shutdown. And now we have the hantavirus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what years those happened?
Tell me.
SARS, 2002. Swine flu, 2008. Ebola, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19, 2020. Hantavirus, 2026. Notice anything about that?
You're not saying that they were engineered.
All I'm saying is not only are they every 6 years,
Yeah.
they happen on the midterm election
Right.
year, every year since 2000. Huh. That is crazy.
Does seem like an odd coincidence.
Just a crazy coincidence. I honestly, it could be coincidence. I have no idea. I just think when you look at it, you think, wait, that's true. SARS, huge scare way back. It's hard to remember, but it was, we all think it's just COVID-19. But before it was COVID-19, where they successfully shut everything down. There was freaking out about swine flu in 2008.
Sure.
It was freaking out about Ebola and bleeding from everywhere. SARS back in 2002. Hantavirus now. Anyway, I just thought that was quite the coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is a time for scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show scattershoot. All right.
Got a little animal good news, bad news.
Hey,
to
come
get
on.
us started.
Like it.
This is animal good news. This is people very bad news. A 33-year-old hiker from Florida was found dead after a bear attack on the Mount Brown Trail in Glacier National Park. This was the park's first fatal bear incident since 1998. Trail is closed while they're investigating. The hiker was identified as Anthony Polio of Davie, Florida. So he was very far from home on this hike. He had last communicated on May 3rd about hiking toward the Mount Brown Fire Lookout, and then his body was discovered on May 6th, about 50 feet off the Mount Brown Trail in a densely wooded area with a lot of downed timber around. And the National Park Services said that his injuries were, in fact, consistent with a bear encounter, which I think is kind of a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
And they suggested it was a surprise encounter, which I would imagine that would have to be true.
A bear encounter is, hey, bear, what's up? A surprise encounter is, wait, what? Oh, hey. Goes back to our rules for living. Our rules for living. How long have we said that? Decades.
Decades now.
We've had these rules. If you follow these 4 rules, it won't solve everything, but it would help the guy from Florida. Maybe.
I mean,
maybe. The rules are, if it's a mic, it's on.
Yep.
If it's a camera, it's rolling. If it's a gun, it's loaded. And if it's a bear,
it's hungry.
Did they find the bear and kill it?
They have not found the
you
bear
gotta kill it.
yet. I mentioned that section of the trail where the incident occurred has been temporarily closed. And they say that's because they're conducting field assessments and wildlife behavior monitoring.
The bear snack shop is closed.
I guess you'd have to know that was something that you might encounter if you're in that area. I don't know what kind of warnings there are out there. How seasoned a hiker He was. We don't know. We don't know any of that.
Yeah.
But just tragic.
Yeah. It's better not to do that. Whatever he was doing.
Hiking?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to hike
Hiking in a national park?
I mean, there are all kinds of things, obviously, in the national park. You've got to be ready to, I'm sure you cannot take a gun to the national park, but you got to have something, bear repellent or something.
Yeah, there are things like that. I do think, I'm wondering about the language in this while authorities conduct field assessments and wildlife behavior monitoring. And they probably they probably know things like, well, the bears in this area won't go near this trail. I mean, the things that lead them to the warnings that they give for, stay out of this area, or if you're going to be in this area, make sure you have bear repellent. Or if that you're not alone. I don't know if that would, how much that would matter either, but I don't know.
I mean, hiking is good with the boys. I've been on trails before that it says, hey, you're entering mountain lion country.
Wow.
And, people like to say, well, the mountain lions are angrier than they used to be because of encroachment or some global warming or some man-made something where it's not the animal's fault. They're just being, a cougar, being a mountain lion or a bear in this case. But I think you got to be very careful. I don't know. I mean, I know people do it, but like there was a guy that was the bear whisperer, and he was out there and lived among the bears and the grizzlies, and everybody said, look, man, you're gonna end up being, a meal at some point, and he ended up being a meal at some point.
This guy wasn't doing that, though.
Yeah.
And when you hear also that this was the park's first fatal bear incident since 1998, that's a long time. And they probably took some comfort in that, too. That probably had something to do with the way they were warning people or, what you believed you could expect from a hike on that trail. Scary. You and I have talked about things like this a lot. Dialects.
Oh, yeah. I love it. The way people say the things that they say, or even the words that they say.
Exactly.
I know that's not dialects, but
no.
Would be word choice. For example, I ask you, you grew up elsewhere, got here as fast as you could. The shoes that you put on that are comfortable, that are the kind you might walk around in, you grew up calling those...
tennis shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going to say you probably called them sneakers. I grew up calling them tennis shoes. Some people call them sneakers.
I think we called them our tennies.
Tennies?
Yeah.
Tennies? Oh, that makes sense. Lightning bugs or fireflies?
Fireflies.
Fireflies or lightning bugs?
How about you?
I think fireflies.
Some of it's hard to remember.
It is. It's kind of hard to. It's been a while, but I just saw some the other day, and I remember I'm trying to think of when I sent a text to in a group text. Hey, I just saw my first
lightning bug or firefly.
I think I said firefly. I think it's fewer letters, but I don't think that's why I did that. Hey, I saw my first firefly. No, lightning bug. I don't know. I don't know what I said. Anyway, but dialects is a little bit different, but the word choice is also different regionally.
Did you ever know anybody who said, wash your hands?
I do know that people in Pittsburgh, the Yinzers, a lot of times, that's how they refer to themselves, is they say Warsh.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that there.
They'll say Washington. I mean, I've never noticed it, but I remember our buddies there, they said, oh, yeah, we say this, we say that. We're talking about dialects one time.
I only remember one person that I've ever, and I'm sure I've heard it other than this, but one person, and I think she was from Indiana. This was many, many, many years ago.
Midwest,
and she was the first person that I ever heard say Warsh.
Interesting.
And this is all of interest again. Where did that come from? Because of Kevin Warsh, President Trump's nominee to lead the Federal Reserve. For some people, that name holds a particular meaning. So people are talking about this again. So linguists believe that the use of the R sound in the word wash might have originated with the migration of Scottish Irish people to the South Midland U.S. at the end of the 18th century. So before they migrated to the U.S., this group of Irish Scots moved from Scotland to Northern Ireland, the Ulster province, and they're known for being rhotic. Do you know what that means?
Rhotic?
Rhotic, having strong R's. There's your word for the day. So the addition of this new letter, that R in the word wash, stretches across parts of Appalachia, from Baltimore to southern Ohio, up to Michigan, and all the way over to Washington State. I'm trying to think. I've spent a lot of time in Washington State, only in one particular part of it, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody there call it Washington. But that's so interesting to me. So whether you're a rhotic speaker of English or not is also a big indicator of where you live or have lived in the United States. Think about this for a second. If you park your car in the yard, you're probably from somewhere other than where you park your car in the yard.
Yard.
Not very rhotic speakers in that part of the country.
I'm looking at Warsh for wash. As you said, frequently heard in parts of the Midwest, South, and Mid-Atlantic regions. Library versus library versus library. Bag versus bag.
That's a Minnesota thing.
So, yeah, it says Wisconsin, parts of Minnesota, upper Midwest.
Bag, tag, rag. It's that long A sound.
Supposedly.
Wait, they say that's a dialect
No,
thing?
it's just it's a common variation that changes the suffix. Supposedly, obviously. This is one I've thought about. Jewelry. Jewelry versus jewelry.
Jewelry.
It is jewelry.
It is jewelry.
Like realtor and not.
It's not realtor.
Realtor.
It's realtor. Yeah.
Nuclear. Nuclear. Fix the potholes. Nuclear. W.
So I didn't know until I started looking into this, back to the R thing again. The R sound that we use in American English is extremely rare. Fewer than 1% of the world's languages use the R in the same way American English speakers do. Yeah. So if you don't buy into the Scotch-Irish thing, which that's not really a proven thing, that's just what some linguists think, how some linguists think that got here. And you still want to try to figure out how wash became warsh. Other linguists say that it makes sense. Because when you break the sounds down, this is a process. Here's another, you're going to learn 2 words today. This is a process called co-articulation.
I have heard of that before.
When one sound changes to be more like the sound next to it. And in the case of wash, the way you shape your mouth for the wa part and the way you shape your mouth for the sh part is the same way that you shape your mouth for an sound.
Like war.
Yeah, so you've got the w in there, and then it goes right into the sh, and that it's kind of natural to stick an R sound in the middle of that. So, who knows why it happens, but the interesting thing about how it sticks, they talked to a lot of people who say, they said they found a lot of people in the Baltimore area and other parts of the country too. Why? And they say, why do you think, if we don't hear that very much anymore, why do you still say it? And so many people say, it's the way my mom said it. That's the way her mom said it. That's what home sounds like. So we hold on to some of those things, even after we leave an area, because it's the way our people said it.
I've always thought that was fascinating. You have people who, where you were brought up, you pronounce things differently. If you're brought up in Texas, and I'm not talking about or even if, let's say you're a Southern, like Mississippi or Alabama. Let's say Alabama. The Alabama accent, how is that retained? I mean, it seems like at some point, it seems that maybe it's just subconscious, but it's some effort that you are going about to keep it. My Uncle Jack was from Scotland. I mean, he served in the British Army, as I recall. So I mean, he spent much of his adulthood there. Yeah. So the accent, or I think of Alistair Begg. Alistair Begg has been in the country for a long, long time. And I think of people that are even second and third generation, but actually an accent is different, the Spanish accent or the French accent. It seems like that could be lost more easily. The third generation, my cousin JD, my cousin Jacqueline, they never spoke with a Scottish accent. But a person who was raised in New York City, or let's say Boston, and you talk about chowder and the haba and get your car at the haba, those things are retained longer than even an accent that comes from a different language. Does that make sense?
Do you think, and talking in the case of your cousins, do you think that's like an immersion thing? I mean, it's one thing to hear it from your father at home, but the rest of your life, everybody else that you hear speaking, you're not hearing. You're not hearing that.
Now, they can do the brogue very easily. I can do the brogue.
They can imitate.
Yeah, because he would hear it 1,000 times. I think he just would have been 100.
Wow.
Like 2 days ago or something. Last week, I think. Anyway, I've always been fascinated with regionality. More so the way people sound. That's why, I've been very critical of movies that talk about a Texas accent. And they have someone talking about, tell them what for. And they have the character say, tell them what for.
Yeah.
That is not Texas.
No, all Southern accents are not the same.
No, ours are much more Western, Texas and Western. And we've talked about it before, but the best example is watch, if you can take it, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men is the way Texans, two things, the way Texans speak and the word choice, because that's also different. It's also unique to the region.
What's the difference between an accent and a dialect?
That's a good question.
You just mentioned if somebody is not a native English speaker and so when they speak English, it doesn't necessarily, it sounds like they have, it's not really a dialect, right? It's maybe they're speaking another language that they're not accustomed to speaking. So the vestiges of their native language are affecting how their English sounds, but that's not necessarily a dialect.
I have the difference.
Okay.
An accent is the way words are pronounced. A dialect is broader.
Okay.
It includes unique grammar, vocabulary, sentence structure used by a group, which also would include the accent.
Yeah.
That is where the Coen brothers got it right with Fargo. That is where the Coen brothers got it right with No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Because it is not just the accent, it is the dialect. In Fargo, she says, okay then.
Yeah.
You have the accent, but you also have the word choice. So there you go. There's your third. Look, I'm capped out on learning stuff. This is the third thing. You gave me two, and now I've given me one. Dialect is the bigger thing, the umbrella under which accent is one of the things, but it includes word choice and sentence structure and many things.
When we moved here, I had never heard anybody say I'm fixin' to
Isn't that funny?
anything.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever heard it. I don't think I'd ever even heard it on a television show.
That's funny.
And I knew somebody who then even went beyond that, and he would say, I'm fissin' to.
Oh, fissin' to, yeah.
Is that something that you've heard that before?
Yeah, but I would never say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people say that. I say fixin' to.
I've heard you say fixin' to.
No, I say fixin' to. Sure, I'm fixin' to go.
Yeah.
Fixin' to leave. It's just the way, it's the word choice. I would use the word tump. If you tump something over, it means to dump it over or to tip it over. Some combination.
Yeah.
People take them, they combine words like mom and them.
I think I probably said.
Tell mom and them we said, hey.
Yeah. I think I probably picked up fixin' for a while in high school when we first moved here, and I was kind of immersed in a different dialect, than I'd ever been accustomed to before.
Funny.
But I don't say that anymore.
Really? So do you consciously not say it, or do you not think it?
No, I don't even think it.
Really? I mean, I still say fix it too. I mean, I don't plan on saying it. It's just whatever the word. But honestly, it makes me now want to go back and watch No Country for Old Men just to find that Barry Corbin scene, man.
Yeah.
Where Barry Corbin is there in the cabin and Tommy Lee Jones walks in. That is really if there was only one clip, you could say Texas. I would say watch that one clip.
It's there.
That is 2.5 minutes of greatness on both sides. Barry Corbin. Just tremendous.
Very good. Okay, finally, I have good news for me and my kind. Being a worrier is usually seen as a health liability, right? I've seen it like that. I've tried to
Yeah.
get away from. I've tried to not be.
Don't be such a worrier. Yeah, that's right.
because, and I've tried to encourage my kids not to worry about
That's right.
things. I think I've gotten better over time about not worrying about things, not experiencing things like stress and anxiety and sleepless nights. I think conventional wisdom for many, many years has told us that being a worrier, being affected by stress and anxiety and things like that, bad for your health, bad for your longevity, right?
Yeah.
So a very big new study. And when I talk about this is personality data from more than 400,000 people.
Oh.
Medical records, brain scans from more than 30,000 participants. And then more genetic data from another 267,000 people throws a wrench into that assumption. They found out that one particular kind of anxious personality is linked to a 35% lower risk of death over 15 years, lower rates of several lifestyle-linked conditions, and healthier day-to-day choices.
Okay.
So as a group, people with that particular profile also had a better 15-year survival than those with a zero, what they call, and I'm not really crazy about this, a zero neuroticism scale. So if you have no neuroses, those of us with this one particular kind of neuroses, we might be doing even a little bit better than you. So neuroticism is one of the big 5 personality traits. It talks about how prone someone is to negative emotions like worry and irritability and mood swings and things like that. And like I said before, for years, things like that have been tied to negative health outcomes, mental illness, even early death. But it turns out that not all neuroticism looks the same.
There you go.
And the difference can make a big difference in your health. So there are 2 distinct dimensions of neuroticism, and they work in opposite directions. There's the classic harmful kind of neuroticism, but the other, which the researchers named ERIS, which stands for emotional reactivity and internal stability, that turns out to be kind of quietly protective. People who scored high on the ERIS scale tend to worry and feel anxious, but they don't have like the wild mood swings and the emotional meltdowns and the things that are the more damaging kind of worry and anxiety and stress.
So maybe they don't spiral.
Yes.
Like you could be concerned. I mean, but sometimes that concern causes you to be careful.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly.
If you could be careful, that's better than being careless. And so then that I think that makes sense. But don't spiral. But you know what? It's easy though. Sometimes to spiral,
and it's sometimes
a
it's easier to say that I think than it is to just tell somebody to stop doing that. It would be there's an old Bob Newhart thing about that, isn't there? When they sit down at the psychiatrist, they lay down on the psychiatrist's couch and tell him all of their ills, and he says, "Stop." He says, "Stop doing that."
I'm going to give you 2 words now. You ready?
Yeah.
Give you 2 words. Stop it.
Yeah.
And she says, "Well, no, but I still." Yeah, but I'm not suggesting it's that easy.
Not that easy.
I'm just saying it's easy for all of us to spiral up. And I guess if you had to pick one, you'd rather, it's good to be concerned. A little concerned. This makes you maybe a lot careful.
Well, high ERIS individuals are far less likely to smoke or take risks. They're more likely to quit smoking successfully, more inclined toward moderate exercise and healthy diets, more likely to seek out preventive medical care. So if you've got just enough worry, just a little bit of anxiety, then if something's going on, you're more likely to go to the doctor and get it checked out than if you're somebody who doesn't worry at all and you're more likely to just say, it's nothing. It's nothing. I'll be fine.
Who would be like that?
Let me think about it. And, researchers were careful to say that it doesn't mean that if you have that worry and anxiety, you are healthier than people who don't. It just means you might have that little bit of extra vigilance that keeps you taking good care of yourself.
That is the Wilder Show Scattershoot. Make sure you find us and engage with us, comments and all those things. Thumbs up. If you haven't done it yet, give us thumbs up or like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, or make a comment.
Got a very nice email, as a matter of fact, at podcast@wildershow.com. Hi, Scott. Just found your podcast. Longtime listener from the old days. He said he just listened to episode 143, which was just from last week. And we talked about UFOs, government high energy weapons, earthquakes in New Mexico, etc. He said this topic is not one that I usually give any brain space to. However, I just watched a documentary on Amazon Prime called The Battle for Full Disclosure. Worth a watch, seems legit, but he wants your opinion on it, Scott. They have several firsthand military guys' lengthy and detailed accounts, and also many clips of an interview with Tennessee Rep. Tim Burchett, who is a believer in both Jesus and this whole topic. So he wants to know what you think, and he very kindly said, glad to have you and Lauren's thoughts and voice in my ears again. And Wes, we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, and so you can email us to podcast@wildershow.com if you want to do that. You can also comment if you listen on Spotify and comment there. If you listen on YouTube, you can comment there, or other places, you can comment there. And we invite you to do that. And also on Instagram, you could comment there if you want to. We put a little sticky up there every episode to kind of prompt. So if you want to find us there, it's Wilder Show Pod, and like and rate and all that. If you want to send us email, we mentioned that Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, on the TikTok now and again. Wherever you get your podcasts, please find us, like us, rate, follow, subscribe, share, engage, and we appreciate that. And Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Da 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 da.